Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I have for you a makeup tutorial. You guys really wanted to see the kind of nude sort of brownie makeup that I had going on when I was in Madrid. I will link that vlog on the screen now if you guys haven't watched it. So I thought I would recreate that look for you. It's a very simple look. It's a very kind of nude, very neutral look. Nothing too crazy, but I think it's kind of universally flattering. And it's a look that I do which is much quicker than the other makeup looks that I've done on the channel before. So I hope you enjoy this video. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. But before that, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you already haven't. I upload twice a week and I would love to have you back on the channel. Okay, so we're going to start everything off with foundation. I've already prepped my face. I've got a bit of moisturizer on and I've got my new under eye cream which really brightens when you've got dark circles, and I'm using the First Aid Beauty one. I will link it down below in case you want to know, and it will probably be featured in my next favorites video because I absolutely love this one. But for foundation, recently I've been using like a really crazy mix of lots of foundations. You obviously don't need to use this, but this for me gives me the perfect combination between the kind of matte, dewy look and I want and obviously the right shade. So I'm using my Fenty Beauty foundation and I use like a big pump of that and then a tiny little pump of this YSL Touche Club B40 color. And this is lighter than my skin tone, but it just brightens my look. And this one is quite matte, so this one just brings in a little bit of radiance. And then I use my Hydra Life BB cream and I do like half a pump of this. And this just acts as a primer to sort of really make this foundation stick onto my skin and last longer. And because I'm not using primer today, because this is supposed to be kind of a quick makeup look, this one acts as a primer without me having to apply it before. And then I just put in a little drop of the Strobe Cream by MAC, which just brings a touch of luminosity and radiance, and it just makes everything look a little bit more natural. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix that on the back of my hand. And then I'm just going to dot this onto my face. And I'm just going to go ahead with my Zoeva buffer brush and I'm just going to buff this into my skin, and I find this is the sort of quickest way to apply the product. I'm taking a very thin layer all over my face. And I'm going to take a little bit down my neck as well. And the Fenty foundation, I mean, I've spoken about this before, but the reason why I love it so much is because it has like, it's my shade, but it has like a little bit of a peachy undertone to it. So it just sort of takes away that super yellow tint that my skin has. I'm going to just glide this over my eyes as well, just to even out my lids. And my skin is really bad at the moment. I've got lots of breakouts and it's kind of peeling off because I had like a facial peel when I was out in Spain, so it's not in its best condition, but we're doing what we can with what we have. I'm just gonna take what's on the back of my hand and just taking the brush and just dabbing it into that. I'm just gonna dab it over the areas that need a little bit more coverage, and this is just gonna kind of increase the coverage in those areas. I'm just sort of dabbing the product, and that's gonna kind of make it a little bit more opaque. To add a touch of extra coverage there. But I'm only going to do this in the areas where I've got sort of breakouts or blemishes. And that First Aid Beauty cream is amazing. I haven't even gone in with concealer yet, and look how much brighter it looks compared to how it normally looks for me. I'm now going to go in with the YSL Touche Club, and this is in the corrector shade Apricot, I think. And I'm just going to put this underneath my eyes just to cancel out the darkness, and I'm going to take it into the corner of my eyes as well. I'm going to do a little bit around my nose and a little bit around my lip area because I've got a bit of darkness here lately, a bit of pigmentation. And then here I've got like a very pigmented blemish. I'm going to use that as well here just to kind of counteract that. And then without even blending this out, I'm going to go in with my Clé de Peau concealer and I'm just going to put this over the top. And I'm literally just gonna go in with the stick, and I'm gonna use this to cover any blemishes. And because this is supposed to be like a much faster look than what I normally do, I'm not gonna bother with a brush. I'm also gonna take that a little bit down the sides of my nose. And you wanna be quite light-handed with this because this has a lot of coverage. And then over the top of this, I'm gonna use my highlighter, and I'm not bothering to blend in between, just because it's supposed to be pretty quick. So I'm gonna use the Tarte concealer, and this is the Shape Tape in the shade Light Medium. And I actually thought this was gonna have more coverage than what it does have. I do like it, but I think it's pretty similar to the NARS. I don't find the coverage so much more, even though a lot of people said that it had more coverage. And I'm just gonna take this in like a triangle shape underneath my eyes, on the bridge of my nose. The one thing I don't really like about this one is that the applicator is quite big, and my features are quite small, so I find it sometimes a little bit too big for my face. I'm also going to take a touch on the center of my forehead, around the corners of my mouth, a little bit around here, and on the center of my chin. And now I'm going to blend everything all in one go. And this I find saves a lot of time when you're in a rush and you don't want to kind of spend way too long on your makeup. Whatever is kind of extra that I'm blending up with my fingers, if I find any blemishes, I'm just gonna tap on those with this so that they get covered. And I'm just doing this to warm the product up a little bit. But then I'm gonna go in with a damp beauty blender, and I'm just gonna finish blending everything out. I'm now going to go in with my Hollywood Contour Complexion wand from Charlotte Tilbury, and I'm just going to contour a little bit with this. And I find this is so quick to just create a really lovely contour. I'm just going to put a little bit down the sides of my nose. You guys know the drill if you've seen my makeup tutorials before. I'm just going to put a little bit on my forehead, down the sides of my chin. And now with whatever's remaining, I'm just going to kind of spread it out a little bit on my cheeks and my jawline. Then I'm going to go in with the complexion brush from her range, and I'm just going to blend this out. And this one is so easy to blend out. It's kind of quite a liquidy formula, but it still has quite a lot of pigment, so it blends out really well, but it does contour as well, but it gives you like a natural sort of contour. And then with the smaller brush, I'm just going to go and blend out the bit on my nose and on my chin. And then I'm going to go in with my beauty blender, and I'm just going to finish blending this out. And I still have a little bit of foundation on the back of my hand, so I'm just going to use that to blend out the bit on my forehead, because I want that to be very, very subtle. And the same with my nose. I'm going to go in now with this RODIAL pen, but you can skip this step if you're in a real rush. And I'm just going to use this to kind of highlight a little bit over and the areas where I highlighted, so on my cheekbone and just underneath where I did my contour, just to kind of intensify that contour. I'm taking this onto the brow bone just to highlight that. And then I'm going to take a little bit down the sides of my nose, a little bit on the sides of my nose, a little bit down the center of my chin, and a little bit on the center of my forehead. And I've been loving this product because it's really kind of light, but it does really pack a punch. And then I'm just going to go in with my beauty blender and just blend this out. This is also going to make your contour look a lot more natural and blended. But like I said, this is not an essential step because we already kind of highlighted with the concealers earlier. I'm now going to set what I've done with all my cream products. And I'm going to take the Laura Mercier setting powder. This is the under eye brightening powder. And I'm just going to take this on a damp beauty blender and just put a little bit on the areas where I highlighted. So this is the usual as it is on all my routines. Basically what I'm doing to shorten the routine is basically just blending everything in at once, as opposed to doing things sort of in layers, because that's saving quite a bit of time. But you still get quite a nice effect. It might be a little bit less flawless and a little bit less long lasting than when you do everything in very thin layers, but it's fabulous for when you don't have a lot of time. And then I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to blend this out. I don't want to leave it there for too long because I want the look to be quite natural and not very cakey. Then to set up the rest of my face, I'm going to go in with my By Terry powder, which has unfortunately broken, you guys, but I'm going to have to buy a new one now. But I'm just going to use this to just add a little bit of glow into my face, just kind of even everything out. Okay, and now I'm going to go in with my Deck of Scarlet palette, and I'm going to be using the Dusk Bronzer to bronze up my face a little bit. I'm going to be putting a touch of this on my forehead, my nose, my chin. And then I'm going to take this bigger brush and just blend it out without adding more product. And then I'm going to go in with my RODIAL contour powder, and I'm just going to use this over the areas where I previously contoured with the Charlotte Tilbury wand. And you want to use quite a light hand because this is going to be a day look that is meant to be quite natural. I'm going to take this along my jawline as well, and also down the sides of my face just to narrow it a little bit, and across my forehead. And I always use it across my forehead on the top because I want to shorten my face. It's quite long, so this just helps shorten it a little bit. And then I'm going to use a little bit underneath my jawline and taking it down my neck. Okay, I'm now going to move on to eyes, and the eyes are super simple. I'm still going to apply my sticky notes because I just find that it's easier for me to kind of guide myself if I have these on, but you can totally skip this because it's a very simple eye look. And I'm not even going to bother to prime my lids because I already applied powder and that should be good enough. I'm going to go in with the Victoria Beckham shadows. I'm using the color Nude in the one that has electric nude and blue. And these eyeshadows are great. They don't budge. They have great pigmentation, no fallout, so I don't really need a primer. And I'm just going to go and apply a layer of this all over my lid. And then I'm also going to take it into my socket. I'm going to go quite high in my socket just because my eyes are a little bit hooded, so otherwise you can't really see it properly. And I'm using a big blending brush to do all of this, so you don't really need too many brushes either. I'm then going to go in with my Estee Lauder shadows, and this one is from the Pure Color Topaz Mosaic, but this is like a brick sort of brown. I'm just going to take a little bit of this on the same brush, and I'm just going to put this onto my crease area just to intensify it. But again, if you're in a real rush, you can totally skip this one. Also, if your eyes are not hooded, you can probably skip this step as well, because you don't really need to add that much dimension. And then taking a smaller blending brush, I'm just going to go in with the kind of neutral brown grayish eyeshadow from the Charlotte Tilbury palette. This one is the Instant Look in a palette, and I'm just going to use this on the outer sort of V of my eye and going a little bit into the kind of deepest part of the crease. And this one, you really want to concentrate the color. You don't really want to go too high up on the crease, because all this is supposed to do is create more of a shadow so that your eyes look like they are deeper set. Then I'm going to take a flat shadow brush. This one's from the DECAY palette, and I'm going to go in with this vanilla shade. This is like a matte shade from the EYELURE by Fleur de Furs, which is the brow palette. And I'm just going to take this underneath my brow. But you can take any sort of vanilla shade that you have, just to highlight a little bit. And I'm also going to take it into the inner corner of my eye. And you just want a very subtle hint of this, just to highlight that area a little bit and just open your eyes a little. And then I'm just going to go back in with my blending brush and just blend that out. I'm then going to take a pencil brush and I'm going to take, again, the same nude shadow we used before, and I'm just going to swipe that underneath my lower lash line. And I'm going to connect that with the top part of the shadow. And I think I'm ready to take these sticky notes off. And I'm just going to take, again, this clean blending brush and just sort of wipe the edges so that it doesn't look so intense. I'm now going to go in with this angled brush and my gel liner from Estee Lauder, and I'm just going to create a very thin, faint line on my top lashes. So I've created a very slight sort of wing on the outside, but it's very subtle, and I just want to do it with gel liner. I don't want to go in with liquid liner because it's supposed to be kind of very faint and subtle and something that doesn't need to be very neat. I'm then going to go over it with this pencil brush just to even blur it out a bit more and make this even more sort of smudgy. I'm going to go in with the eye gel from Victoria Beckham, and I'm going to take the black side and just go into my upper waterline just to make my eyelashes look a little bit thicker. And then for my bottom lashes, I'm going to go in with this brown pencil, which is the Audrey one from Charlotte Tilbury, and I'm just going to create a very faint line on my lower waterline. If you have light eyes, I feel like you can skip this, but with my brown eyes, I feel like without this, my eyes look a little bit dull. So this just sort of helps. But you don't want any black, so mine is transferred a little bit, so I'm just going to wipe that off with my finger. And you want to take this more sort of in between your lashes as opposed to onto your waterline. Just very faintly. And then I'm going to go in with my eyelash curler, and I'm just going to really give those lashes a good curl. And what I like to do when I really want to curl them is kind of lift this up and curl them on a bend, and I just find that curls them a lot more. And then what I'm going to go is go in with mascara. I'm going to take the Better Than Sex mascara, and I'm just going to take this onto my top lashes. And you really want to give them a generous coating, but I don't want to apply anything on my lower lash line. I'm now going to go in with my Maybelline Push-Up Drama Mascara, and I'm just going to do a second coat of that. Okay, moving on to brows now. I've discovered this Tom Ford Fiber Brow Gel, and this one is in the color Taupe, and I find that this is the quickest way to do my brows. It makes them look very thick, but at the same time very natural. So I'm just gonna take this and brush it through my brows. And this has fibers that sort of cling onto your hairs and make them look a lot thicker. I know Glossier do a very similar one. I've not tried the Glossier one, but I've heard really good stuff about it. So this is gonna kind of keep them in place, but at the same time, like fill them in and build them up a little bit, but in a very natural sort of way. And then just to fill in the areas where I've got a lot of like literally like patches, though it's very, very sparse, I'm gonna go in with my lingering brow pencil and just like around here where it needs just a little extra filling in. I'm just going to fill it in there, but I'm just keeping kind of my very natural brow shape. And I love this because it makes them look so, so natural. Like you naturally have pretty thick brows. And then just because this is a tinted gel, I'm just going to go around it with my beauty blender just in case there's any kind of gel that's sort of come out and stained my skin. I'm now going to go in with a little bit of blusher, and I'm going to take my Charlotte Tilbury, and this one is in the color Ecstasy. Just going to pop a little bit on like the apples of my cheek and just kind of brush it back. Then I'm going to go in with my BECCA Shimmering Skin Perfector to highlight a little bit, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of this on the high points of my cheeks and just underneath my brow a little bit as well. I'm also going to take a little bit above my brows, down the center of my nose, top of my lip, and on my chin. And then taking a fluffy blending brush, I'm going to go in and contour my nose, which I forgot to do earlier with my RODIAL contour powder. I'm just going to kind of swipe this down the sides of my nose and a little bit below my tip just to lift it up a little bit. And finally, I'm going to move on to lips, and I'm going to start off with my Soar Lip Liner by MAC. I'm just going to line my lips slightly overlining on the corners just to make them a little bit more full. I'm also going to fill in the corners a little bit. And then I'm going to go in with the Victoria lip liner, and I'm just going to go over this line and also fill in my lips completely, just to give them more of a brown tint. I absolutely love the shade of this lip liner. I think it's like the perfect nude. And then I'm going to go over this with the Tom Ford Blush Nude Lipstick. And to top it off, the Fenty Gloss in Gloss Bomb. I'm just blending in everything with a lip brush. And to make sure everything lasts very well, I'm going to apply a couple of spritzes of the All Nighter setting spray. And that's it, guys. I'm gonna let my hair down so that you can see the final look. But yeah, I think you get a fairly good idea because this one's quite simple, no lashes, no anything, but I'm gonna put my hair down so you can see it properly. Okay guys, so this is the final look. I added some lashes, a very, very natural pair of lashes. These ones are by Fleur de Force, and I will link them down below on the description box, just like all the products that I've used in my tutorial. And I just added them so that you can see that you can definitely amp up this look for evening. It looked great without the lashes, as you saw, but with the lashes it just adds a little bit more depth without being too dramatic and still being a very kind of neutral nude look. It still just adds a little bit of drama. So I actually really, really like it, and I actually think if you've got a bit of time, these are even appropriate for daytime. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. If you do want to see any other makeup tutorials, do let me know in the comments down below. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!